Hello. So what we're doing in this video today is learning how to use GitHub with the Everett account as a collaborator on your own account so that you can do the just bare bones minimum stuff so that you can update your code so that PhoneGap can read it and then compile apps for you. We're not going to get in today how to set up GitHub or even how to install Git. That's going to be a separate video or separate lesson, or you just kind of do it on your own. And it's also not going to be an exploration of Git in general or even how to use the command line in any depth. We highly, highly, highly recommend that you use Code Academy's Learn the Command Line course. It's very short and very informative. And also, if you want to, use the Learn Git course. Combined, these things will probably take you about 5 hours. They're not essential, but they make you feel really smart, and you will learn a lot about this very handy way of just becoming a better computer user. So again, we're not going to go very deep into these things. This is just about how to use GitHub in the most bare bones essential fashion possible. So with all that in mind, let's review what we're going to do and then start doing it. The first thing we're going to do is create a new repository on the Everett Program GitHub account. After that, we're going to add my personal account as a collaborator. After that, we'll basically add all the files, do our first commit, and push it up to GitHub. So let's get started. I'm here on the Everett Program GitHub account. You can see that it's the Everett Program one. I'm signed in as it. We like to have the more kind of organizational level stuff hosted here rather than on your personal account, just because we need to have support for it and ownership of it off into the future. And also, if you want anything to go on the Everett Program Apple Developer account, then we'll also need it up here. So let's get started. I'm going to hit the plus sign and hit create new repository. This is the first thing you always have to do when you're doing this. So what is going to be the name of it? Well, I've already got my quote-unquote code here on my desktop. You can see it's how do I get... These are just some random files. They don't actually have anything in them. I just wanted this for the purpose of showing how to add files. So I might as well just name it the same thing, how do I get. I don't think it might not let me do that. How do I get to? You see that it's loading. I think GitHub is having some problems right now, and it always chooses when I'm making a screencast to do that kind of thing. But at any rate, it's a public repository because we don't pay for private ones. We're not going to initial it with a README because I already have that there. Now let's just create the repository. Cool. Whenever you create a new repo, it's always going to give you the same screen. It's basically asking you to get your local code ready to be pushed up. I'm going to ignore that for right now. Go to Settings, Collaborators, and then I'm going to add my personal account. Over here in an incognito window, I'm signed in with my own personal GitHub account. That's me. I'm going to add myself as a collaborator. And that's going to send a notification to my GitHub profile. Over here in my personal account, see, there's me. Invitation to join this thing. I'm going to accept the invitation, and it takes me right back to this screen because we haven't added any code yet. This is the official owner host of this code, and I don't need to use it anymore. It's much easier for me to do this with my personal GitHub account. And the reason is because I installed the Git software onto my computer and then I tied it up with my personal GitHub account, which means that when I do commits and everything, it's expecting that it's supposed to send it to something on my account, but I created it using the Everett Program account. This causes problems. You can be signed into multiple GitHub accounts on your computer, but the process for doing that is kind of a huge pain to set up, and I really don't feel like making that video, and I forget how to do it properly every single time I come back to it. So just add yourself as a collaborator and do work on your own personal account, and it's just much easier that way. Anyway, what do we need to do? We need to initialize Git and then do our first add and commit and push it up after we add our remote origin. So what does all that mean? We've got our code right here. We need this to get up here. How do we make that happen? Well, you do that from the terminal. Just go to Spotlight and type in terminal. A quick note, I have a special terminal running on my computer. It doesn't look quite like what you're going to see on your own, but the commands are identical. Don't worry about the fact that mine looks just a little bit different. My prompt looks a little bit different. The commands are exactly the same. So what do we need to do first? Git init. No, actually what I need to do is navigate over to this directory. So I type cd, which means change directory. Directory just means folder. And then click and drag this on here, and it completes the whole path for me. I don't have to worry about that. There we go. I'm in desktop. How do I get? The first thing that you have to do is hit git init. This will initialize this folder as a Git repository. It'll start watching files that we've added. There are two ways to add the files in here. You can type git add file1.txt, git add another file.poo. That would kind of take a while. Like you might have dozens, if not hundreds, of files within your repository. So just instead hit git add and a period, and that will add everything. What do I need to do next? Git commit -m, first commit. Make sure you do the -m and then close your quotes. Got to do that. It's giving me information about whatever. We're ready to add the origin. I'm just going to copy and paste this because it's a lot easier. It added a connection between this repository and this remote repository. Git push u origin master. All right, it's all done. I can refresh here. And there we go. As you can see, we've got everything that we want. All this stuff is empty. But anyway, we've now got our code up here on GitHub, and that means that we can, I don't have it open, and that means that we can supply PhoneGap with this repository URL, and it will be able to pull the code and then create the apps that we want. And that's a whole other series of videos. What do we do when we make edits? So let's pretend, I'll do it file. There we go. I've made a change to readme.md. If I type git status, it'll tell me that there was a modification to readme.md. I've made a change to my code. I've fixed a bug. I've added whatever. Who knows? The process for updating the code is the same as before. Just git add period, git commit. It's committed, git push. There we go. It's made all of its changes. And you can see that the change has been made. I would go over to PhoneGap, hit pull latest, and we're done. So that was just a very, very basic crash course of how to add yourself as a collaborator and then how to make just the most basic of ads. odds are you're going to run into problems at some point, and hopefully you will be able to solve them.